So good morning, dear guests. Good morning to our guests from Turkey and good afternoon to our guests from Hong Kong. Welcome to our webinar today, where we will discuss the opportunities offered by the Hong Kong startup ecosystem. We will discuss the business prospects for Turkish startups who are willing to internationalize and consider expanding into Asia Pacific, and more specifically, look into the Hong Kong market. Well, let me shortly introduce myself. I'm Neşe Seçer, and I'm the Turkey Principal Consultant on behalf of Invest Hong Kong. Being based here in Istanbul, Turkey, we as Istanbul Hong Kong office assist Turkish startups and Turkish companies who are willing to set up and grow in Hong Kong. Invest Hong Kong is a government agency that assists companies to form an entity and grow in Hong Kong. I would like to take this opportunity to also share some brief about the Turkish investment in Hong Kong. So far, there are around 70 Turkish companies based in Hong Kong. To name a few, a prominent startup is, or a scale-up is Insider, as you may all know. WeWorld Express is another very successful logistics company, which is a joint venture between Turkish, Chinese, and Hong Kong companies. And they are operating in Hong Kong for more than 4 years. Turkish Cargo is again a successful example of a Turkish investment in Hong Kong. Dantatsu Creative Agency is an advertising agency which had actually set up during the pandemic in Hong Kong and is doing very well. Barsan Logistics is a company which is active in Hong Kong for more than 10 years. And we also have a number of jewelry companies like Cevherun Jewelry as an example. Following this short introduction, let me introduce our speakers. In today's 1 hour long webinar, I'll be the moderator, and we have 3 speakers from Hong Kong, which are really true experts on the startup ecosystem. To name, we'll start with Jane. Jane Chan is the head of StartmeUp at Invest Hong Kong. StartmeUp Hong Kong is an initiative of Invest Hong Kong, which assists founders of innovative and scalable startups from overseas to set up or expand in Hong Kong. Jane has been with Invest Hong Kong and StartmeUp from the very beginning, so she knows extremely well the startup ecosystem in Hong Kong. Our next speaker will be Francis Pon. He is the promotions and community development leads incubation and acceleration program at Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. He's currently leading international developments for incubation and acceleration programs at the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park, which is a leading deep tech innovation hub in Asia. And our other speaker is Ivy Chan. She's the head of ecosystem development at Cyberport. She is in charge of building and developing Cyberports collaboration with external partners and stakeholders. So welcome to our speakers from Hong Kong. And our Turkish host today is Incubation. It is an incubation center of Technopark, Istanbul. It aims to foster an innovation ecosystem and build a relationship between deep tech entrepreneurs and investors. Mr. Ozan Evren, who is in charge of global startups from Incubation, will further introduce us the entity. Well, at the end, following the presentation of our speakers, we will have a Q&A sessions. So I would like to ask our audience to raise their questions in the Q&A box here at the bottom of the screen. So being very excited about our webinar today, I would like to leave the floor to Mr. Ozan to shortly introduce us the Incubation. Thank you, Ozan.
Thank you for the short introduction, Ms. Seçer. I would like to share my screen and my presentation, if you give me a few seconds. Can you see it on the screen right now? Okay, hi to all participants again. I would like to start and talk a bit about Technopark Istanbul and our Cube Incubation Center, which operates under the roof of Technopark Istanbul. We are solely based and we're working on deep tech entrepreneurship. We have many startups and ventures and mentors on the area of deep tech startups, and we are deeply focused on deep tech startups. As Cube Incubation, we are an incubation center for deep tech entrepreneurs and startups. I would like to start with some numbers. We have more than 420. We provided more than 420 incubation services over the years, and we provided more than 730 acceleration services from the start to today. Actually, Technopark Istanbul has a past for like 12 years with this new year, and we are starting to grow and expand to other countries in the last year as Cube Incubation. We are focusing on main fields like aviation, space, advanced electronics, clean energy, biotech, health sciences, industrial software development, and cybersecurity. These are the main topics that we are focusing on right now. We have more than 300 research and development and high-tech companies under our roof at the moment. We're helping our startups in different stages, from pre-incubation to incubation and to post-incubation. In the process of startup creation, we help our startups with deep tech innovation assessment, with their business plans and early training and mentoring. In the early stage, we're helping them by means of hosting. We're providing them co-working spaces and helping them with our infrastructure and some facilities. We help them coaching and mentoring, training, commercialize their products and services. We help them to plan their advanced business planning, and we help them to access to investments and some funds. And in the third stage, as post-incubation, we help them to expand to other countries and also helping with them IP and technological commercialization, also clustering and advanced business development, and help them to export their products and services to other countries. We have these stages. As I mentioned, we help our startups taking them from the idea stage to MVP stage, to startup stage, to scale up stage, and to global stage. We have 4 programs now: Idea Cube, Camp Cube, Run Cube, and Race Cube by stages. And in the last part, which actually I manage and operate, we help them to grow, bloom, and expand. And for the last 6 months, we started taking some share options from our startups, and we are trying to create a revenue model on that. Here are some quick numbers. We have more than 100 startups and 300 graduate alumni, and more than 100 of them moved to the Technopark, to a bigger facility. Here's our team. We are now 16 employees working on different fields. We are building our departments like that. We have an acceleration department, a business R&D department, an internalization department, and an infrastructure department. That's our building. That's the view from the outer side. We are also building some biotech labs at the moment. They're under construction right now. We will also help many of our startups in the biotech sector and in the health vertical. Here are some photos from the Cube Incubation Center. We were launched last summer. Here are some numbers again. We had more than 500 participants. So I won't go into too much details with the numbers. but we have many infrastructure facilities for deep tech startups like clean rooms, dark rooms, server rooms, and some laboratory facilities. Here are some of our services and supports. I don't want to take too much time. There are too much numbers in the presentation, so I will go fast. Here are some numbers also from the Cube ecosystem from yesterday to today. We launched more than 400 projects and 115 products. We are also focusing for the last 6 months in the European Union projects. We are taking part on these projects, and we are planning to lead a project in the near future. These supporters are also both local supporters, and we are working to and planning to get some funds from the European Union projects. We also have a global mentorship program, which we have more than 180 mentors. We would also like to add you as new mentors. We can also discuss that too. Technopark Istanbul has a hybrid model. It's also government-backed, also backed by some private companies and backed by some universities. So that's the first one, the only one in Turkey, and the biggest technopark in Turkey at the moment. We're also planning to expand laterally. We will have a new remote incubation center in the heart of the city by the help of two of major universities and Beyoğlu municipality. We are planning to move beyond deep tech companies, and we're planning to implement some fintech companies, fintech startups, help them with VR, AR, and other game development companies. So we are planning to laterally expand to other countries. We also have a deep tech report that was provided last year. I can also share that with you after that webinar via email. We are partnering with many different companies and accelerators from all around the world. We also have a new fund, Deep Tech Venture Capital Investment Fund of 25 million euros for the year 2022. We are so excited about that also. We plan to have some soft landing projects here. We are planning to send some of our startups abroad and planning to soft land some projects from other countries in Technopark Istanbul and in Cube Incubation. So we are open for your suggestions by means of that also. We can discuss that too after the webinar. We will also share our startup portfolio with you, so you can examine on your own. I think that's all from our side. That was our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ozan. Very impressive indeed. We'll be happy to see the cooperation between the Turkish and Hong Kong entities growing further. So now that you have provided the Turkish side of the Cube Incubation and the startup ecosystem, now let's listen to Jane as she will start with the introduction of StartmeUp, which is the whole ecosystem of the Hong Kong startup community. The floor is yours, Jane. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Neşe, and Ozan and Cube Incubation. Thank you so much for inviting us and the representatives here to speak to your audience. No, thank you. I'm going to also share my screen as well to show you a quick presentation. But in the meantime, maybe I'll just let you know a little bit more about Invest Hong Kong and the Start Me Up initiative. The Start Me Up initiative at Invest Hong Kong was established about 7 years ago to basically help startups and related stakeholders to establish in Hong Kong. So we're talking about the likes of investors, the corporate innovation programs, accelerators, incubators, co-work spaces, basically everyone who is interested to potentially connect with the startup ecosystem here in Hong Kong and through Hong Kong to mainland China and Asia. We are here to basically provide an extra layer of support, working with people, my colleagues like Neşe in Turkey and around the world, as well as our sector teams at Invest Hong Kong's office, to basically bring the connections, to provide signposting on funding and all these other things that make soft landing here much easier. So I'll just give you a little bit of information about the ecosystem here as a context. I'm going to be spending around sort of like 15 minutes just to talk about this before I hand it over. But as Neşe says, if anyone's got any questions, we would be happy to address them at the end of all the presentations. So, Hong Kong, what is special about Hong Kong? We've got some really good fundamentals in place, which is why we've become one of the world's financial centers. We are one of the world's capital fundraising centers. So, in 2021, we were number 4 in terms of the IPO market. That's actually quite low for us. Normally, we're within the first, second or third position globally, and it has been like this for many, many years. I think, all the developments with COVID impacting things, that's dropped off a little bit, but we're still in a very, very strong position. We also changed the voting rights within this Hong Kong Stock Exchange a couple of years ago to enable a weighted voting rights to for companies who would like to maintain share of the companies. And that's really important for startups because they would like to actually steer the company into the right direction once they've gone public, and the weighted voting rights allows us to actually do this. We are a free and open market, so there's freedom of movement, capital, goods, and information. We're also a free trade port and a free trade regime, and that's good because it allows companies who are established here to actually keep the kind of revenue and the profits that they've actually created much more so, and potentially put some of that back into their business. We have a very, very simple tax system, and actually usually it's about 16.5 is our corporate tax, and that's pretty much all you pay, except that a few years ago our chief executive decided to, in order to actually support the SMEs and startups further, they've reduced the amount of tax you actually pay on your profits to 8.25 for the first 2 million Hong Kong dollars worth of revenue or profits you've created here in Hong Kong. And after you get over this threshold, then the maximum you would pay would be the 16.5. There's no other kind of taxes. There's no VAT, GST, capital gains, withholding tax. And again, it's actually all designed to make things very business friendly and very straightforward. Our infrastructure, hard infrastructure, is one of the most progressive, and probably we've won a lot of awards actually on our infrastructure. We're talking about the airport, we're talking about a train system. It's very, very well developed here, incredibly advanced and very, very cost effective. I mean, basically, for example, you've got the tram that goes from one end of Hong Kong to the other side, which takes you about an hour and a half, and it costs you 2 Hong Kong dollars. I don't even know how much that is in euros because the amount is so small. So it's the infrastructure wise, it's absolutely fantastic. We have the the independent judiciary, the rule of law, and it's a common law system, and the common law system is actually applied in a lot of Western kind of countries. So if you were to come to start doing business here, you would feel very familiar with the way things are run in a legal kind of sense. It's probably stuff that you're probably already quite familiar with. And that's actually quite unusual within the whole context of Asia, and also within China. you know, even though we are definitely part of China, we're running a one country, two systems, which enable us to have an actually different legal system to the rest of mainland China, which runs on a civil law system. And that's good because it gives you peace of mind. It gives you, you know, sort of reassurance that what you're doing is on an international level. And should anything happen, you've got specific recourse that you can actually head into. Related to that, of course, we've got very strong IP protection. And in fact, Hong Kong is one of the premier IP trading hubs. And we are an IP dispute resolution center as well here. So you can just be reassured that if you decide to make Hong Kong your base for your development into Asia, you know, there's some good fundamental strengths that actually support your business. Now, in terms of the startup ecosystem, so we've been tracking the startup ecosystem for the past 7 years, and we've been doing this with co-work spaces, accelerators, and incubators to give us an idea of, you know, the type of companies we've got residing in Hong Kong in the startup side, what kind of size they are, what kind of sectors they're doing, and you can see all the results here. So you'll see that the last set of figures we have, which was November 2021, the number of startups we have residing at the co-work spaces, accelerators, and incubators is just over 3,700. Now, this survey doesn't actually capture the companies that are residing you know, in their own location. So the real number of startups is actually higher than this. But the other thing that's useful to note is that in the past 2 years, even with the height of the pandemic hitting, you know, economies of all sizes in different locations, we have still seen a growth in the past 2 years. Now, this demonstrates two things. It's demonstrating that we have a very resilient group of startups here, and also the business opportunities here are worthwhile for companies, even with the pandemic, you know, impacting businesses. We're still seeing an increase on growth. I mean, the growth is not as impressive as some of the previous years, but the fact that we have a growth at all compared to a lot of other cities and countries around the world just shows that the business opportunities here are really quite solid. The number of staff has decreased. So we can see in 2020, for example, there's been a decrease, and that's indicating to us that, you know, due to the impact of COVID, people have had to reduce their headcount, but that's bounced up again quite substantially in 2021 as well. So again, another indication of the resiliency of the startup ecosystem here. Now, one thing I think that actually makes Hong Kong really quite unique, in my view, is that 1 in 3 founders in Hong Kong are not Hong Kong locals. So we have an incredibly diverse group of founders here, and part of the reason for that is that, you know, Hong Kong is one of the world's financial centers. We've always had a very international flow of people coming in and out of Hong Kong doing business and otherwise, and that's reflected in our startup ecosystem as well. So, you know, when we've got 66% of the founders are Hong Kong Chinese, we've got 28% that are from overseas and 7% that are returnees, which are almost like overseas, you know, in terms of mindset or, you know, experience, because they spend such a long time away from Hong Kong. So 1 in 3 founders coming from a different location, a different country, a different city. And if you look at the percentage of the ones that are, you know, the non-local founders, you know, we're talking about quite a diverse kind of group as well. We've got 20% from mainland China, 14% from the United States, and 11% from the UK. Now, these 3 locations interchange year by year, but it's always pretty much these kind of companies in the top 5 or 6. So again, you know, that diversity actually really helps to enhance I suppose the strength of the startup, you know, coming from different locations, coming from different ways of resolving issues. When you tie that in with Hong Kong's founders, who are incredibly international as well, who have got the language expertise, we think it actually creates very strong startups. Where are these companies you know, starting their businesses in. So unsurprisingly, fintech is our biggest sector. You know, Hong Kong being one of the world's IFCs, we do have a lot of companies involved in this area, but we also have a lot within the e-commerce, supply chain management, logistics side of things. And that's because we've also been a trading hub for many decades as well. There's a lot of expertise in Hong Kong in these areas. And unsurprisingly, some of these experts have actually gone to start up companies, you know, in this kind of space. We've also got professional consultancy services. So, you know, these are like your legal company, your digital digital law. So, you know, law tech and all these other kind of services as well, which hits again one of Hong Kong's main strengths, which is the services side of Hong Kong. And then of course ICT, that's the enterprise kind of software, the AI applications and whatnot. So collectively these really make up the majority of the startups within Hong Kong startup ecosystem. Now, you know, fintech, I just want to show you this, not to show you, you know, exactly which company is doing what here, but more to say that, you know, fintech is a very, very comprehensive, you know, sector here in Hong Kong, and we've got companies across the whole gamut of subsectors within the fintech space. And you know, you've got different kind of associations helping as well. You've got accelerators, you've got venture capital purely focused on, you know, investing in fintech. You've got other community supporters as well. So if you are a fintech kind of company, I know that Ozan said at the moment you're very much deep tech, but you know, if there is a kind of overlap even within the deep tech on the fintech side, you know, you would be in very good company in Hong Kong. So, you know, we do think that because of the international aspect of our founders, because of the strength of our ecosystem and the business opportunities offered by Hong Kong and our access to the surrounding markets near us, you know, we've created, you know, we provide a very good space for, you know, very strong companies to come forth. And this year, you know, we've got about 10, as of now, we've got 10 unicorns. We had 2 unicorns go, well, we had 2 companies go public last year at the last quarter. So, you know, the fact that we've got 10 unicorns for a population of 7.4 million people in Hong Kong is one of the highest unicorn creation per capita rates in the world. So, you know, lots of different types of companies. We've got fintech, we've got travel tech, we've got logistics tech. There's an NFT gaming metaverse company. There's also, you know, AI. So, you know, it's also quite diverse. So it just shows you the opportunities can also be quite wide as well. I won't go into details about the funding side, but suffice to say that our government prioritizes development of innovation and technology here in Hong Kong. And there's lots of different types of funding, very much, you know, geared towards the R&D side, but also in other kind of areas as well, including, you know, a joint VC matching fund whereby certain accredited VCs in Hong Kong will get a government matching of $1 to $2 VC matching, for example, to basically encourage more companies to actually, you know, deploy startup technologies. We've also got, you know, other kind of like schemes where, you know, the technology voucher scheme, where the person who's buying the technology can get like subsidies to offset the cost of that. And that's again to try and encourage more companies to actually try something new that may not have a long, you know, history because it's a startup and things. It's all these kind of things that we're trying to target to try and encourage more companies to embrace innovation and technology, but also to actually help our own companies in Hong Kong to actually move up the value chain as well. We've got a very vibrant VC network here, and you know, some of these are listed, and I'm sure you'll hear a little bit more from Francis's side later on the Science Park. And you know, we've got a range of different types of incubators and accelerators as well I don't know why that's fallen down here, but anyway, we've got, you know, a lot of different ones. We've got Cyberport Science Park represented here, and they are the two organizations, statutory bodies that are providing the widest range of programs within this incubation and acceleration space, and they'll tell you more about it. But in addition to that, we do have like a company like Brink, who are basically headquartered here, started here, but they've expanded to a number of different countries overseas. They provide a number of acceleration programs across food tech, across IoT, across sustainability, and their latest one is actually an NFT gaming accelerator as well. So, you know, we're very well regarded by industry, and they just recently also got a $130 million fundraise as well to invest in the companies, you know, further. So, you know, very diverse. If you're looking to basically soft land here and you want to get additional support to make it easier to transition, those are some really good kind of programs you can consider. Greater Bay Area, so Hong Kong is part of this, what we call the Greater Bay Area, that was promulgated by the central government in China a couple of years ago, actually. What it is it comprises 9 cities within southern China, plus Hong Kong and Macau. And collectively, we've got you know, a really good opportunity to target this market, to sell to this market, and actually support this market, and take, you know, China in a more kind of bite-sized way. To, you know, if you're trying to bring your deep tech into Hong Kong, maybe you'll try and adjust things initially for Hong Kong, then you basically make a few amendments and you try to potentially sell to this kind of market, or collaborate or manufacture in those locations, and then you can actually take, you know, the wider areas within China and Asia as well. So it is a really good opportunity, and Neşe, you know, I'm sure if you were to reach out to her, would be able to give you some more information about the business opportunities there. The last thing I just want to do is to basically just tell you a little bit more about the StartmeUp Hong Kong Festival. So one of the things we do every year is this large scale annual event focused on innovation and startups. It's something that, you know, that's been successful over the past few years. For 2021, for example, we had nearly 39,000 attendees, direct attendees from over 103 countries. But in addition to that, we had over 240,000 page views on streaming media as well. That's not captured within that. So it is incredibly popular, this event. So, you know, I just wanted to end with that and tell you the next StartmeUp Hong Kong Festival will run from the 23rd to the 28th of May, and we would love for you folks to get involved, because it will be a hybrid event. And if you don't mind, I would finally like to end by just showing you very quickly the video as well for last year's festival, so you just get an idea about how, you know, what kind of things are included. And if you're really thinking about expansion to Hong Kong or other locations, sometimes an event is actually a really good way for you to understand what's going on the ground, on the market, and where you might potentially fit in. So I'll stop sharing first, so I can actually go into the video side. StartmeupHK Festival is all about creating genuine opportunities.
You need a digital innovation strategy to not only defend against disruption, but also put you in a position to go on offense.
我们会继续积极推动各项创科政策的落实，希望为有志投身创科事业的朋友提供更广阔的发展空间。
It's not just about the business model and the universities, it's about the ecosystem.
And Hong Kong is a place to be if you have that ambition, because we have all the necessary ingredients for scale up.
NFTs are something that's really kind of blossomed in the Ethereum space, because this thing that we're building isn't just a game anymore. It's a significant part of the new era.
It is all about convincing people to believe in something like your product or service as much as you do.
I think we talk a lot about how technology disrupts, how technology destroys jobs and takes away wealth, but at the same time, I think technology can also create jobs.
The innovation technology space is going from strength to strength. The city has a perfect testing ground and launching pad for startup with everything a startup needs.
Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival 2021 has been an incredible success, creating new partnerships and opening up exciting opportunities for ambitious entrepreneurs from across the globe to capture them via Hong Kong, a future unlimited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jane. Very inspiring indeed. I'm sure we will have Turkish startups which are inspired by this and hopefully joining in May the hybrid event between 23rd and 28th, the Start Me Up Festival in Hong Kong. So thank you for sharing the figures also about the Hong Kong startup ecosystem. And it's interesting to see that so many international startups are in Hong Kong, around 28%. And I'm sure the Turkish startup will consider this figure. Turkey was not yet in your statistic in one of the columns, but maybe in the future. So let's turn to Francis and see how he will introduce us the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park, and to understand what can the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park offer to Turkish startups. The floor is yours, Francis.
Great, thank you, Neşe. Ozan, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be here along with my partners, Jane and Ivy, to share a little bit about what our content here in Hong Kong. My part will be on the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park, when you'll probably see some similarities to what Ozan was presenting, because I think we have a variation of a theme, but let me show you a Hong Kong version, if you will, to that. So, just want to give you an overview. We start with pictures here. Just a nice picture of the science park. We've actually been here for about 20 years. We are celebrating our 20th anniversary in a few months. And this has been built out over a few phases. We are a sizable ecosystem with 17,000 people working here every day, over 1,000 companies. And our focus is in the few areas of deep tech, very much around the AI robotics area, the hardware areas, and very much the life sciences. I guess the impetus or the genesis of this science park came from a real need for translational research to come out from the universities, to come out from the discovery academia that was happening in the local universities, really world-class universities. 3 of our 6 research universities are in the top 50 in the world. So a lot of that needed a place, or has an opportunity to really have a place to develop further for commercialization needs. And from there, it spun out, and really, this is what you're seeing today. If you see from the startup or the incubation side, which is the part I'm with, it's really at the top right, the newest section of our science park facilities. And within that space, we have over about 500 startups that work at this science park every day. A little bit more about the facts and figures. I want to talk to, besides the working population, the company size, is that we do have a good success model in nurturing, developing, and graduating our startups in the incubation program, which I'll focus on a little further. This program really welcomes international participation. Some of the numbers you saw Jane expressed earlier is very much part of that. And our claim to success is really about the ability for the company to stay, and develop further. And with our graduation alumni, we see 80% of them still in business 5 years after the fact that they graduate from that. We're very proud of that. The other aspects of our startup ecosystem is, of course, the investment side. Similar to what I heard from Ozan, we have a corporate venture fund to a tune of about $500 million Hong Kong. And with that, we participate with the private sector on a one-to-one matching basis. Companies are ones that are invested by these ventures capital. And besides the funding, the other highlight I do want to point out is that it really is a good reference in the funding ecosystem here in Hong Kong and nearby area to have reference from the science part, because when you see that 1 to 10x ratio that you see, basically what that means is park companies that do get funding from our ecosystem are able to go to the private sector and get 10x on average, 10x more funding amounts for their venture. So that's a key highlight. I think that's very true within our space, and something I want to share with that. Now, in the how do we support our entrepreneurs or INT ecosystem? At the end of the day, I do say we have a lot of infrastructure, we have a lot of people working hard at it, but at the end of the day, we are a people's business. And we serve a very important class or people, and that is the tech entrepreneur. With that, we on the top left, you'll see a program range that start from an ideation, very much a validation for an idea proposition, all the way to a global expansion program. And I'll focus further on what this means. From there, there's also components that help the entrepreneur really develop their proposition to market. The first is also a market adoption ability. Now, we work with a lot of corporate partners. We have a strong connection with them. They have been working with them for years. And some of the industrials that you heard Jane talk about is our world-class infrastructure, the airport authority, the utilities, the railway system. They've been kind of a mainstay, or initially how to get some of the innovations adopted from our ecosystem. But since then, you also see some of these brand names that you see in the finance world, HSBC, in the medical space with Bayer, with logistics with DHL, et cetera. A lot of the regional headquarters of these multinationals are in Hong Kong. And therefore, there is a appetite or an accessibility for these innovations to enter that corporate space. And it's very much, besides the dollars that you get from funding, market adaptability for an entrepreneur is very, very key, as you may know. To the right of that is our talent acquisition or talent nurturing space, where we have an Inno Academy, and also we have a career expo that is really here to offer a lot of job opportunities from our park entrepreneurs to the ecosystem. On the bottom here, you'll see a lot of infrastructure, right? Very much investment at the science park that was done over many, many years. And that's really, supports that deep tech ecosystem development for the tech entrepreneurs. On the right, though, on the last one, it's called InnoCell, is our latest addition to the park, which are really state-of-the-art co-living accommodations. This is important because we want to give access. We want to give a full experience for especially our international entrepreneurs to have a place to stay for access to really focus on what they need to do and make it worth the while as well. So this has been an added welcome added addition to the park. And even with COVID, with the non-resident participation rate, we're at an occupancy of about 70%. So that's been very successful to date. Now let's talk about our full breadth of incubation acceleration program, which is something that I think be interested in. Like I said, we start from the left and the right. We start with ideation. This is a one-year program and open not just to Hong Kong residents, but also possibly for yourselves to really validate the idea. And this can be done remotely part-time over 1 year. Now, when you get to then have a validated idea and you're looking for to productize and to commercialize your solution or product or venture, that's where the incubation program comes in. Most of our startups, 300 plus of our startups, are in the incubation program. This is a 3-year program, and we give funding of about $150,000 US over those 3 years. And from there, the whole purpose again is about developing a product into early POC and then going to market. Okay. From there, as you graduate or you take on next stage, it's really around the Series A now type of startup. Before incubation, there was more around seed rounds. Acceleration style, it's really a focus getting out into the market at a very high scale-up rate. And then these are really for Series A ventures. And this is a 2-year program that is really very selective in bringing the startups into the GBA or into Southeast Asia and definitely beyond Hong Kong in terms of adoption and market development. And last but not least, we have an elite, very by invitation only program that is really for tech startups. We're talking ponies and centaurs to really base themselves out of Hong Kong and then going out for global expansion. So what I'd like to focus a little further is our incubation program. I think this is one the sweet spot for this audience here. And in fact, I'll leave you with something later that you can follow up with, which is further down this week with our open day. So our incubation program, again, it's our 3-year, $150,000 US grant funded program. And with that, it is the opportunity to come to Hong Kong, to have an office at the Science Park, and really to develop your product over 3 years and go to market, right? This could be an extension of your application of what you're doing in Turkey, or it could be something completely new to access the ecosystem, the supply sources in GBA, et cetera, or the market here as you develop an arm of your venture. So you have office space, you have laboratory equipment, you have tech resources and partners, training, talent pool to tap into. I think a lot of the professional services that Jane talked about, this ability to have world-class services operating under a international rule of law, et cetera. How do you set up your corporate structure for Asia, for China, for Asian expansion? These are expertise that our professional services kind of world-class legal firms have offices in Hong Kong that we tap into. Mentoring, we have seasoned industry veterans that come from industry or academia, et cetera, really to connect you, really fast track the opportunity to talk to others, really get the know-how, really to get understanding of what it takes to be in Hong Kong, to expand your business, develop your scale up supply chains with the GBA, et cetera, et cetera. Our startup community is important. I think Jane talked about that with the bigger Hong Kong, number. But over at the Science Park with 500 plus startups, we have developed very much a community, a meetups group, where a lot of topics, whether it's training, investing, mentoring, just getting to know each other, find a person to talk to for certain expertise, et cetera. This is important because the tech entrepreneur, as you know, is very smart, or it's very focused, very has an expertise in their craft, in that level of technology or science, and the ability to broaden that or to equate that with a entrepreneurial skill set is very important. And where you have other entrepreneurs working and having that ability to connect really easily is very important. So that's where our meetups come in. And then last but not least, you know, the ability to get funding and customers, which I talked about earlier, is very much part of, you know, our program to help the entrepreneur. One focus area I do want to emphasize with the Science Park is our hardware accelerator. This is an accelerator within the program. And depending on what topics they have, we do have expertise with the, you know, manufacturing center of the world, which is, you know, Shenzhen, Dongguan, just north of Hong Kong, to really understand what it takes to work with the contract manufacturers, supply chains. You know, how do you establish your pricing? What terms do you negotiate? All these things are very important as you, you know, have maybe a prototype and then scale out into a much more robust you know, delivery or distribution of your product. And this is something that is very unique to what we do to help with that. I'm going to close off a little bit soon now. I want to just introduce the team with you. We do have, what happens is you do have an account manager which will help you with your journey over those 3 years. And these are seasoned expertise, you know, venture developers, ex-entrepreneurs, you know, industry experts who know how to, you know, have experience to connect with business associations, hardware VCs, et cetera, all these ecosystem components to help you succeed and keep you on your milestones for success. So I said a lot here. What I do want to extend further is we do have, if you have a, you know, questions about this, et cetera, we'll answer it later. But also we have a deep dive explanation on this program with our open day, which is actually coming up this Friday. So if you allow me to go to the chat, I just want to share with you that, you know, you can be more than welcome to join our open day this Friday. And the one thing that's unique to our open day is that we do like to capture your information, and especially if you want to have a one-on-one consultation with our key account managers here, you're more than welcome. And that's what we like to, you know, really start the conversation with you to really help us understand your proposition, and then see where we can help, if that makes sense. Okay, so with that, thank you for your time. And I'll be more than happy to share this presentation to Neşe or Ozan going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. Very thought-provoking indeed. I'm sure Turkish startups would be excited to consider Hong Kong Science and Technology Park, and maybe the first step will be by joining the event this Friday. Well, let's go to our final speaker today. With us is Ivy, and she's representing Cyberports. Again, a very unique infrastructure for an entity for startups. So let's listen to Ivy. The floor is yours, Ivy.
Thank you, Nisan. Thank you, Ozan, for the invitation, and nice to meet with all of you at Istanbul. I just want to talk about, in the next 10 minutes, to talk about how Cyberport can help you if you choose to set up or expand your venture at Hong Kong. Cyberport is one of the 2 technology parks operated and owned by the Hong Kong government. And our vision is simple. We focus on digital technology, not as much that as Francis has talked about the deep tech and the R&D part, but we are more on the digital tech area. We want to build a digital hub for Hong Kong and grow the economy for Hong Kong. So it's also to share the map of the campus to you first. It's not as big as the science park, but we do have a complete infrastructure for our community in here. We've got office space in here, office building, 4 of them. We've got retail leasing, shopping mall. We've got also a hotel in here, and also we've got a waterfront park. What we want to do is you just not just work in here, but you can really spend your leisure time in here as well to build a community for you to work here and have fun in here. A bit of figures to show you as well. Cyberport has been in operation since 2005, and for the number of on-site community members, as of today, we have about 800 of them. The majority will be the startup companies from our incubation program. And also the technology, digital technology companies at our co-working space. The brand name of the co-working space is called Smart Space. And in total of that, we've got about 700 of startup companies on site, and also about 100 of office tenants in here. Big companies like Microsoft, FedEx have anchored their headquarter office at the Cyberport. And also just now Jane mentioned about we have about 10 unicorns in Hong Kong. We are happy to tell that 5 of them are from the Cyberport community. We talk about the Animoca brands, the big in gaming. Klog is the travel tech, trip planning services. GoGoX, the shared riding. TNG is a fintech one on e-payment, and WeLab is a virtual bank. You can see on the bottom side here, we are proud to talk about the fintech companies' achievements in here. Of the 8 virtual bank licensees in Hong Kong, 2 of them are from Cyberport. WeLab and Joon Bank, they are the Cyberport community members in here. And also for the 4 virtual insurers licenses in Hong Kong, all 4 of them are from Cyberport community as well. We've also talked about the mix of international companies in Hong Kong. This is the snapshot of the Cyberport community the nationalities of the owners in here. Actually, it maps approximately to the overall Hong Kong figures presented by Jane. About 30% of our companies person in charge are from overseas nations. And in here is the distribution of the 30%. Quite a number of them are from mainland China and also US and Europe. I also could not find Istanbul Turkish company in here. Hopefully that after the webinar, we'll have interested Turkish company joining. Here's the fundraised situation by the Cyberport community companies. In fact, the number would be a bit higher. Just on yesterday, we've got Animoca brands announced a round of funding and other US dollars 358 million being raised by them. And they have a pre-new money valuation of $5 billion US already, which is quite good news being shared to us on yesterday. Cyberport, we talk about, we focus on digital technology, but it's a broad area, and we are a small company, we cannot work on every vertical. So we only focus on 6 cluster areas, 3 of them on the application side. Fintech is big for Cyberport, which later on I will talk more about that. And then smart living is a broad cluster and encompassing many different types of companies in here. And digital entertainment and eSport is a unique cluster for us, which I will also mention and talk about more. And then we have the different supporting technology clusters for those application layers. This is just one picture showing what Cyberport has been doing, what's its focus. As I mentioned, our vision is to build a digital technology hub for Hong Kong. And we have 3 big strategic directions. to work on to build all our programs, our partnership, our geographical coverage, and also to achieve the different results areas that we wanted. Of the three big strategic areas, cultivate and develop talents are the biggest one for us. We put the most resources into here. That's the incubation programs, all the different supporting startup programs in here. To drive industry development, what we talk about here are the specific industry, fintech, digital entertainment, that we have built the gravity, and we have built a platform for the different stakeholders to co-create and innovate. Traditional bridging or integrating the traditional and new economy. This one is more about helping the old economy companies to digitize their operations, their processes. Actually, this has been going on because of the COVID. This part of that has been expedited. So we've been doing a lot of networking, meetup between our startup companies with the traditional companies, enterprises. Hopefully there will be good matching for those companies to use our startup solutions. For this page, probably it will be the most informative page for the audience in here. It shows all the different startup programs that Cyberport is supporting and coordinating. The cutting point are, there are two programs entry points. The first one is the Creative Micro Fund. This one is more for you if you've only got an idea. You haven't got any actual product. This is a 6-month program for any individual or a company who wants to develop their idea into actual product. We'll give a small amount of seed funding, 100,000 Hong Kong dollar for a 6-month period for you to complete your prototype. But the most important and core program for Cyberport would be the incubation program, the one in the middle. It's a 2 years program. It's different. It's shorter. It's only 2 years program only. And then we will give 500,000 Hong Kong dollar to the startups. Also, we will have free office space for the companies as well at the Cyberport campus. And then we've got acceleration support as well with that accelerator support program of 300,000 Hong Kong dollar. This program is a bit different. We don't have an in-house accelerator program team. With we choose to give out funding. But we have a list of about 60 to 70 endorsed accelerator programs that will be covered by the funding, because we think that startups would have different acceleration scale-up requirement. They could be at different stage of maturity. They could be they want to expand into different geographic, they are in different industries. So we will let you make your own choice to choose which program to join. And then as long as they are from the endorsed list from Cyberport, then you use the financial assistance at your discretion for the program that suits you best. And then we've also got a small funding for the company to expand overseas. Nowadays, we don't have that many overseas, we don't have the overseas trips or conference to attend. But if you do some digital marketing, advertising, those would be items that we can reimburse as well or covered by this funding support. Then the last one is the Cyberport Macro Fund. This one is the Cyberport's own VC fund. It's just co-invest fund. We will have the startup to find a lead investor to join the investment. But thus far, we've also got very good result. From last year, we've got $1 of our investment. We attract about $10 to $11 of lead investment dollar. A bit is quite similar as what Francis has presented. Even though I know in early days, probably the number would be a bit smaller, but as we see that recently, that number is increasing. Then Fintech, this one, as I mentioned, is the strongest and most important cluster for Cyberport. Hong Kong is international financial center, and we've been working for this vertical for at least 6-7 years to build up this base. I think we have a majority maybe of the Fintech companies in Hong Kong. Just now we saw that in Hong Kong, maybe around 500, 600 Fintech companies, and then we have about 300 something of them at Cyberport. I cannot show all the programs we have for the Fintech cluster in here, because nearly every week we will have different sharing sessions, events, conference, and ongoing programs for our Fintech companies. So if you are a Fintech company, that could be happy to give you more information on what community support you can get, what commercial opportunities we will be giving to you if you join us. But in a nutshell, we work closely with the government authorities in Hong Kong, like the Financial Services and Treasury Bureau. We've been working with them closely on Fintech, giving out Fintech training to the industry participant. We've been working with them to support their Fintech POC schemes. All of these are beneficial to the startups, Fintech startups at Cyberport. And also we've been using different events and conferences to give opportunities for our startups to share their stories, their ideas, and their creative thinking to increase their recognition in the market. And just now I talk about those Fintech results. I don't repeat myself in here. Smart living is a big cluster for us in terms of the number of startups. This one, it will be like everything that affects our living, that improve our living, then we put it in here. But it could be like health tech, education tech, ESG related, 5G IoT related, e-commerce, all of them under this cluster. And we've been supporting our companies, not just connecting to the potential partners, but also for the smart living clusters companies. We are asking them, if you have a real product, you can test it out by installing that at our campus. If you come to visit Cyberport, then you will be able to see a number of prototypes, test product around our different locations. We want to enable them to collect some initial data for their products to have a successful launch. And then I mentioned digital entertainment is the third application cluster for us. It's a unique one for Cyberport. I know that in Turkey, gaming industry is big as well, and you have some a number, 2 or 3 unicorns on gaming. So this one is unique because the government actually in 2019 had allocated 100 million Hong Kong dollar to Cyberport to specifically develop the esports industry for Hong Kong. And Cyberport has made use of about half of the funding to build a professional grade esports arena at Cyberport. It was launched in 2019, and about the half of the remaining funding was used for different esports talent development schemes and event support schemes. And for esports digital entertainment, it's not just about esports gaming, but it's a whole value chain that you can see we're showing here. And we enable our startup companies to participate in the different roles on content creation, being the publisher of the games, or even to like provide a platform for the gaming events. So it's quite a developed cluster for us. Welcome to like give any, if you have any question, want to join in, see how this ecosystem looks like, I can provide more information afterwards. This one will be the last few slides, but also want to talk about that for supporting entrepreneur support from Cyberport. We don't just give out the free office space, the seed money, but we think most important is to help our startups to grow their network, to help them to build a sustainable business. And we think that along the startup journey, the startup will need to have different partners, customers, investors, and also different technology to enable their product. So we have a different specific partnership network. It's a type of service that we provide to our startups to help them scale up and build a sustainable business. And this one is the enterprise one network. We just want to show that every day we have business matching type of event at Cyberport to connect our startup with the enterprises network of Cyberport. We've been using Cyberport's relationship to build these types of partnerships to enable our startups to find customers, or maybe just to find a POC opportunity to support them. Eventually, what Cyberport has been putting a lot of resources and focus to do is to build comprehensive supporting ecosystem for its startup communities. As what I've mentioned, as a startup company, you will meet all the different helps and support from different stakeholders. And hopefully that if you join Cyberport, we will be able to provide you with all these different network bridges for you to expand your service. These I don't cover. And this is just an update that because Cyberport has been in operation for quite a long time, 18 years, we haven't got any infrastructure expansion for the last 18 years. And our occupancy rate is actually quite high at 90% or over. Because of that, we've actually got approval to build an expansion called Cyberport 5. It will be up and running in 2024. By the time we will be able to have additional space to house maybe another 500 to 600 startups at Cyberport. But before that, still welcome you to chat with us and then you will be welcome to Cyberport. Thank you. Oh, by the way, this is maybe one last page on the eligibility to join the incubation of program of Cyberport. Is very, very simple. You just need to be a registered company in Hong Kong with less than 7 years of registration. And then you've got a viable business plan. And then your founder would be having at least 51% ownership of the company. And the project must be rooted in digital tech. So hopefully some of you will find Cyberport be of interest and of help to you if you want to expand into Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivy. Very valuable information. I actually would like to thank all our panelists today because you provided a very clear picture of the Hong Kong startup ecosystem. And I'm sure our audience will benefit from this valuable information. Actually, I would also like to inform the audience that after the webinar, based on the email registration, we will be sharing the presentation of our panelists, because I see there was a question about the presentations. So you will receive the presentation. You will also have the contact details of our panelists. Also, we, myself and Shema, we are based in Istanbul here. You can always approach us to ask any questions about Hong Kong, and we'll be happy to assist you to set up in Hong Kong and consider investing further in Hong Kong. Bearing in mind the time limits, I would like to thank again to our panelists and also to our audience. So thank you very much for your valuable contributions, and let's stay in touch for future webinars. Here you see our contact details. So from the audience, in case you're willing to approach or you have any questions, you can always call us or email us in those numbers. So thank you very much, and all have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Yeah. Okay. That's a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you.